You're listening to the Hockey Podcast Network. New shows every day. Find us at thehockeypodcastnetwork.com or wherever you get your podcasts from.
McGregor versus Poirier 3 is all set for UFC 264, and DraftKings Sportsbook is the official sports betting partner of UFC, has a knockout offer for this weekend's fight. DraftKings is offering 264 to 1 odds on a knockout in the first round during Saturday's main event. If the rubber match ends in a first round knockout, you walk away with cash. Just pick the main event fighter you think will win by the first round knockout, and DraftKings Sportsbook will give you 264 to 1 odds on that fighter. That's right. Bet $1 on McGregor or Poirier to win in a first round knockout. You win $264. $264. There's no better way to put your MMA knowledge to the test than to put your money where your mouth is with DraftKings Sportsbook. Don't worry if MMA isn't for you. DraftKings Sportsbook offers great odds and promotions on basketball, hockey, and so much more. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable, so you can deposit and withdraw your funds at your convenience. Download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code THPN when you sign up to turn $1 into $264 when you bet on a main event fighter to win by a first-round knockout. Place your bet and watch the fist fly this weekend. That's code THPN to turn $1 into $264. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older, New Jersey, Indiana, or Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or in Indiana, call 1-800-9-WITH-IT. Welcome to episode 60, season 2 of Red Wings Rant, brought to you by Brothers of Discussion and the Hockey Podcast Network, where tirades and impassioned pleas for your Detroit Red Wings finally have a home. Today we're sitting in the plea section again. That's right, some more impassioned pleas. And today we're going to be talking about a couple of defensive prospects in the 2021 NHL Draft, Brandt Clarke and Luke Hughes. Maybe in the title I have that flipped around. Any hoozles. What we're talking right now is probably about two guys who won't make it to the pick 6. But everything's so wide open. It is entirely possible. The first guy we'll take a look at, Luke Hughes. He's got the pedigree. The thing about Luke, though, is that you've got him ranked as number 1 in some draft rankings, but he's also fallen as far to 11 on some others. So that's where I at least can still make the argument that everything's up in the air. And a lot of people will probably listen to this. First comment, he's not going to make it that far. Still, let's get to know Luke a little bit. This will be a little bit of a shorter episode because of that reason, but there's still a possibility that he could drop that far. And the other guy too, Brandt Clarke, ranked number 2 on a lot of draft rankings. I think as low as he goes is number 7. So on the consolidated rankings for elite prospects, I believe Brandt he is number 4. So basically what you're talking about is him being number 4 on elite prospects consolidated rankings, which again, I always highly recommend you guys go check out the consolidated rankings on elite prospects. It's the best way to just get everybody's pick, everybody's information in one spot, because there's always going to be some fluctuation from player to player. And since we are a podcast that respects the analytical mind, that's why I like to take every single mind that's out there, just stuff it into one table, and boom, there you go. You get it pooped out right in front of you. The Red Wings will be taking Simon Edvinsson at number 6. Joking. Of course, you guys can check out some of our other episodes We've gone deep into Beniers, William Eklund. We have talked about Edmondson. We've talked about Jesper Wallstedt. Of course, with Keith Petruzzelli, who is arguably the top goalie prospect heading away from the Red Wings. Did we just to put it in stone that Wallstedt's going to be drafted at number 6? Talked about that in the last episode. But there are so many different things that are going out there, going every which way for every single one of these players. And we always come back to the Ansar Khan question from a press conference a couple of weeks ago, where Ansar, of course, asked Steve Yzerman, since we all know who's going number 1 and number 2, can you give us an idea of what direction or where you're thinking you'd like to go for this draft? And Steve, of course, said, you know who's going number 1 and number 2? And Ansar Khan put out there Owen Powers, number 1, very great possibility. Simon Edmondson, number 2. Like I said, Edmondson ranked number 6 on Elite Prospects ranking. So that right there just goes to show you how crazy these are. And I mean, how many times have we watched an NHL draft and just been like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this guy dropped that far? And we're only talking about a few spots here. So somebody gets an idea of one guy being a better fit need-wise, even though need's hard to come by in the NHL draft, but somebody fits that need a little bit better. Could be seeing Brandt, could be seeing Luke Hughes drop just a teensy bit. So like I said, let's take a look at Luke. For both defensemen that we're going to discuss today, they both grade out at an A. For Luke Hughes, though, and for Brandt, it'll be for 2 different reasons. For Luke, it starts with the skating. The skating is what is going to absolutely get him a job and get him drafted. It's something for me that if he were to drop, he is absolutely a consideration at that number 6 spot. And I say drop based on the Elite Prospects Consolidated ranking, where he is currently ranked number 5, which again would suggest that he's going to be out the door before we do get a chance. Before we do get a chance to sniff that opportunity. But we've talked about it before. We've talked about the opportunity to pick up some of these top ranking prospects if they were to drop to us. And we got into the conversations on Twitter about the likes of William Eklund. I think everybody in the conversation with Owen Power, we almost don't even need to have it because it does feel like he's going number 1. But hey, if he dropped to 6, absolutely you take him. I'm asking everyone to also consider taking Luke Hughes if he were to drop to number 6. And again, you talk about a pedigree on Luke Hughes and his brother Quinn Hughes, who maybe struggled this season, but what you're looking for is the things that you just can't teach. And he's got an amazing ability to skate. And that's just one of those things that I would at least chalk up to first is just talent. And then you can improve on that ability. And I think there's some space for him to even improve on that skating ability to get even better. But that's where this guy's skating ability is going to get him not only drafted in this top 10 easily, probably in the top 5, but it's also going to land him an NHL job a little bit quicker than some of these other prospects. And what I'm talking about is when you could skate that good is how you can transition the puck all on your own. And even knowing that you can transition the puck means that you're going to be able to pass the puck as well to an open defender. You're going to find more open teammates because you just have that ability to skate. Your opponent's going to know it. And what's important here is that we're taking a look at the Elite Prospects grading for these cats. So thank you so much, Elite Prospects. But you've got the high grade on skating, but his other high grades are on passing and puck handling and hockey sense. So what you're talking about right now is that guy who has that ability to draw people towards him because he has that high skating ability, but he's also going to be able to make that good second choice. What's the plan B if the skating option isn't going to work? And that's where you see all these things start to come together. The first thing that, I think people are going to compare him to is going to be his brother Quinn. And it's safe to say that you're not getting a top 2 defenseman if you're picking Luke Hughes. But again, I don't think a lot of people are looking at this draft, especially in the top 10. You're basically rolling the dice. You're crossing your fingers that you're going to get an elite guy here, but pretty much you're getting a solid player. So if you're looking at all these solid players that you want to pick up, if you're talking about the Red Wings, who right now have Filip Hronek pretty, I would say tied in there for a while, even though he's a restricted free agent right now. Moritz Seider figures to be in that top 4 for a very long time, hopefully top 2. Can you identify a space for another defenseman that could fit a particular style? That's Luke Hughes, who could be that skating defenseman that you could use, obviously with a power play that struggled for a while to get that puck into the zone, but really just a team that has struggled to exit the zone and enter the offensive zone. That's where Luke can be that answer. And while we've seen from the statistics coming from the SHL and from Filip Hronek's play, but the SHL for Moritz Seider, that there is going to be 2 strong options. Why not get a third and get it on a guy who's just using that God-given talent to skate to do so? I again, the caution here, and you want to talk about how we're not necessarily looking at this guy to be a top 2 defenseman. You take a look at the shooting score that I have posted right now from Elite Prospects. It's a 4. You don't really, to me, once you see a low score, maybe a middling score for something like that, you're almost just lucking into somebody that could figure it out, I would say. At this point, if you can shoot, you can shoot. And that goes back to things that Yzerman said in the middle of the season, where he was asking his coaching staff and he was asking his players to focus on the defensive side, because he said that stuff's all instinct. So what we're looking at is a guy that's going to be a playmaker. By all accounts, he's extremely creative, but most importantly, he can skate. So Luke Hughes, absolutely. Give him that consideration at the number 6 spot. So the other defenseman we want to talk about today is Brandt Clarke. Like we already mentioned, even though Luke Hughes does have a number 1 ranking among all of the, I would say, most prestigious draft prospect ranking tables, what have you, Brandt Clarke doesn't have a 1, but he's got a lot of 2s, and that puts him as projected to go at the number 2 spot. And then, of course, as we mentioned before, the Elite Prospects consolidated ranking has him at number 4. So if we go by that consolidated ranking, we're going to have to see Brandt Clarke drop 2 spots to land at number 6, again, based off that. But what are you getting for Brandt Clarke? And again, this is something I think a lot of people would look at Brandt Clarke dropping to number 6, and you'd be crazy not to consider this as your pick at number 6. And with so many holes in the Red Wings lineup from top to bottom, and especially where you're looking at this draft to pick up a solid guy to fit somewhere in your middle 6 on the forward side, and you're hoping to land, you'd be lucky to land somebody in that top 2, but hopefully in that top 4 for your defenseman. I think Brandt Clarke works because you're getting a solid 2-way defender by his own account, and by others who have seen him play a lot of games in the OHL and in Slovakia this year. This is somebody that has a lot of offensive upside. And the thing of it is that his skating, as we talked about with Luke Hughes, is not quite as high. He's got a 5, where, of course, we just talked about Luke Hughes has a 7, and that's his difference maker. Brandt Clarke with a 5, where you're going to see the difference with Brandt Clarke does go back to the decision-making and his hockey sense, where he's got a 7. His puck handling ability is going to help him set up plays and, of course, hang onto the puck into the offensive zone. And the passing, 6.5. Very high ranking scores here, which of course gets him that A overall score from Elite Prospects. But ultimately, with him calling himself a 2-way player, you're seeing all of this come from his ability to read the game. And one of the most important things the Red Wings could get from a guy like Brandt Clarke is his ability to read the game and to create offense once the puck is in the zone. So he is getting the puck. He is helping move the puck into the zone. But what Brandt Clarke was able to do in Slovakia was rack up 15 points in 25 games. Thing of it is, could have been more. By all accounts, starting with Elite Prospects, those first 10 games in Slovakia were a struggle for Brandt Clarke. And it was just him getting acclimated with the game. But once he started to get that sniff, once he got the blood right in the water, he was a shark and he attacked. And that 15 points for the last 15 games. If you want to look at it that way, if you struggle for 10, take away 10 off that 25 game list, 15 and 15. We're cheating a little bit here, but that's kind of the argument we're making, is that once he could get, I guess, acclimated with what was going on, get a little bit more familiar with that game over in Slovakia, figure out who his teammates were, get all that worked out, it was going back to the hockey sense and how that can really help out any player fit in any team. Especially with a kid of his age. It's incredible to see the maturity of him figuring that stuff out and then turning it into success while he's over in Slovakia. Now, he's listed right now at 6'2", 190 pounds. So he's got a little bit more beef than Luke Hughes, who we actually hadn't really gone over, but he's at 176 pounds, but they're both matched at that 6'2" spot. Brandt isn't necessarily the most physical guy in the world, but you can at least see him use some of that physicality to hold on to the puck. And that's what we're talking about here, is extending plays, I think, is the most important part. And that's what comes with a strong hockey sense and the puck handling and just a sizable defenseman. He's not going to be the largest defenseman on the ice. Maybe he will at some points, but that's what we're talking about here. As a guy who's going to be knowledgeable of what he can actually do with his body, know the right and wrong times to use it, and of course, create space and continue to hold on to the puck and use the physicality when it's called upon. And I think for all those reasons, that's why you want to draft a guy like Brandt Clarke. And I like this note here from Cam Robinson of Elite Prospects. He might not have the same combination of speed and creativity that has bled into Cale Makar and Quinn Hughes' level of impact, but he's no slouch with the puck in the fun end of the rink. So basically what we're getting at here is he's not going to be able to create with speed like you see with Quinn Hughes and Cale Makar. And really what's turning them, even though, like I mentioned, Quinn struggled this year, he's still a kid. But what's turning them into like the top defenders in the league, I think it would be silly for any NHL team to say, okay, there's only one way to draft a defenseman. They have to look like Quinn Hughes or Cale Makar. I think what the important thing here is that Cale Makar and Quinn Hughes are smart enough to know when to use that speed. And we've seen Quinn struggle when he does make those mistakes. But Cale Makar, I think right now is turned into the standard because he is making those right choices. And it's what turned him into a Norris Trophy candidate. I think with Brandt Clarke, the important thing is that the hockey sense is at the same level of competency. So it's not about having the speed or lacking the speed. It's knowing that who you are and being able to use that and turn that into, I'm going to say profitable because I can't think of a better word, but more offense, as opposed to giving up offense, and better defense opposed to not having a great defensive game behind you. So I think that's the more important thing. And that's why I like that note from Cam Robinson, because I think ultimately what it does is highlight how important hockey sense is and how important it is when these kids have it and show the maturity to use it the right way. So with that, wrap up this conversation here. I got to thank everybody for checking us out on YouTube. If you could give us the old subscribe-a-roo. Thanks for listening to the podcast. If you guys are listening now, please head on over to Apple Podcasts, subscribe, rate, and review. And please make sure you don't miss a show wherever you're listening to us on podcasts. Please subscribe. You don't want to miss a thing. Mike will be joining me again this upcoming week so we can get into some hijinks and some fun. But for the time being, I appreciate everybody hanging around while we discuss some more draft prospects. And hey, we're almost there. We're getting close. So thanks for holding on, everybody, to get some more draft coverage. And hope you're enjoying it. Drop us a line on YouTube. Always hit that subscribe button. Check us out on Twitch as well. Brothers of Discussion will be doing the pro wrestling shows. And, of course, our Red Wings shows there. So thanks for checking that out as well if you get the chance. Everybody, and DraftKings, thank you for sponsoring. I bid you adieu.